Welcome. Safe to say this is a few more people than we were expecting, so you might have to shift up on tables. Before we start, if you are sat on a table that doesn't have a little pile of paper in the middle of it, could you shift yourself around so you are sat on a table that does, because otherwise you won't be participating. It may be that you just want to sit and observe. I think everyone is. Second thing, I have an extra slide for shuffling, but I'm going to do it now because I've just thought of it. The idea of this was that you wouldn't be sitting in little groups of people with a similar archaeological discipline background to yourselves. So if you are an environmental archaeologist sat with other environmental archaeologists, for instance, disperse. We would mix it up a bit. So I think I've successfully distributed Environment Agency archaeologists throughout the... No, it's always too rubbish. Right. So just a little bit of a jiggle, and you probably want to make sure that there's a roughly, I can't do the maths, I know, even number. If you feel like you're on a table where there's loads of people, this is going to be easier if you actually can all sit around the table and look at stuff and converse. So if you've got a table that's sort of overflowing, spot a space and move to it. Excellent. And welcome to this session. I'm going to fess up, we're trying something a little bit experimental. It might totally crash and burn, but that's all learning, right? So what we're hoping for is it's good conversation and that we gain some experience that we can take away and use to develop this sort of approach further. If it works, we are looking to try and share these materials on the CIFA webpage so that other people might be able to run this sort of workshop themselves. So feedback would be wonderful. There's various boards around that you could just scribble on a post-it note or grab us at the end or email us and share thoughts. That would be very helpful. It's gonna delayed reaction on my slides. So I've got a wonderful team. So there's Coralie, and I've been scheming this for a while with others. So and we also have roped in a number of my National Trust colleagues who are going to be helping us. And Kat, you're going to hear from a little bit more about the site that we're working on is actually a live site that's one of hers that she's been working with. And Becky and Callum are going to be helping facilitating. I've also twisted the arms of a number of other people. So I'm going to ask you, if you think you're facilitating, could you stand up? Because we do need one of you on each table. So this is the first test. Aha. Yeah. Kat. Oh, look at that. Oh, as if by magic. We might even have some spares. Elaine, you've dodged it? Amazing. Okay, perfect. Sit back down again. So this workshop is based on a kind of premise. We've got a challenge. We have an increasing number of very large landscape scale change projects. So I work at Senior National Archaeologist National Trust. We own a lot of land. We're doing a lot of things to a lot of land. You might have seen our strategy. It's hugely ambitious and a little bit challenging to think about how that might roll out, especially supporting the archaeological implications of that. We are going to be heavily reliant upon the rest of the sector to help us, and we are not the only organisation that is trying to deliver projects at that kind of scale. The sorts of projects that we're talking about are not the same as developer-funded construction projects in the way that they're funded, in the way that they're delivered, in the way that they're regulated. So we have to be able to think a little bit differently. And there's no standard way of working. No one's really done this before. We're literally making it up as we go along, which is what you're going to do today. So it's about learning. The premise that we're starting this workshop with is that we all have the knowledge that we need in order to support this process as archaeologists, in order to deliver better landscapes for nature and climate. It's just that no one ever really asks us the right questions or gives us an opportunity to think about how we might respond. So we tend to fall into those knee-jerk kind of reactions of habit with standard desk-based assessments and more standardized approaches. And we're using this space as an opportunity to challenge you, to talk to each other, to share your knowledge, to think about how you might respond to the specific objectives and challenges that are on the table in front of you. And it's a safe place to There's no right or wrong answers. That's the point. We're here to try and think through and challenge each other and support each other in how these projects might work. And we will hear at the end about some real world examples. Doesn't mean they're right or wrong. It's just we thought it's helpful for you to understand what actually happened in this place and a couple of others. First up, I'm a little bit worried about how this is going to work because there's so many of you. At some point, okay. So what we wanted to do. So think about, hold in your thoughts. And do we have Bluey? Please tell me we kept the Bluey stickers. Coralie couldn't find dots, so we've got stickers of Bluey. We will be frisking you before you leave. Don't take them away. So what we wanted to do is to gauge now how comfortable you are using your archaeological knowledge. This is specifically applying your archaeological knowledge to speak to non-archaeologists about landscape scale nature regeneration. Not just talking about landscape scale regeneration, not just talking about the impacts of that on archaeology, but how as an archaeologist can you talk about the idea of changing a landscape and the way in which archaeology might be relevant to that. Scale of 1 to 10, Bluey will help you. I think he's smiling. We should have, if we would be really clever, we'd have had sad face Bluey and confused. Okay, she's on it. So anyway, at some point, stretch your legs, go and stick something on the chart there. Yeah. So at the end, if you do both, just remember, write it down the back of your hand, something, scale of 1 to 10. Right. So this is fairly quick fire. It is going to be painful for those of you that love the detail, which is why the facilitators have been briefed to help you avoid the rabbit holes. We are going to the southwest of England to our National Trust Hunnicutt estate, Exmoor. There's a big landscape recovery scheme. The maps you have in front of you are of that place. They contain different sorts of information, typical of the sorts of information that we have about the historic environment. You will also find in front of you an objective. There are multiple copies of it, so you don't have to kind of peer over the shoulder. You will either have an objective to manage that landscape better for water. So that's improving water quality and slowing the flow and reducing flood risk, those sorts of things. If you don't have an Environment Agency person on your EA people, try and rejig, so you're doing the watery ones. So I think that's 3 tables will have that. 3 tables have the objective of maximising carbon sequestration. So you're thinking peatland, trees, grassland kind of thing. And the final 3 will have the objective of managing better to maximise benefits for nature. So these are the sorts of real world objectives that we are trying to meet in these sorts of landscape projects. You will also have a person, a role. And we picked these 3 just to illustrate the sorts of people that you might need to engage with and convince of the way in which archaeology can help them achieve these objectives. So 3 of the tables have an ecologist. There's a little bit of description about the sorts of levels of knowledge assumptions they might make about archaeology. Another 3 have a project manager. Another 3 have a funder. Non-specified, you can make up your own role. If you want to go full on role play for the second part of this, go for it. If not, you're fine. And the key question is, how can you collectively use your archaeological skills and knowledge to meet that objective that you've been set for this place? Now, we've got an hour and a half together. We're not even going to spend the whole of that looking at this. So it's clearly very rapid. What we want you to try and do is to pick a couple of things that you think you might be able to explore in a little bit more detail. I've got the shuffle we've already done. So the first 10 minutes, and I think we're going to time this. Kat's just been timing the last session, so she's on it. 10 minutes to familiarise yourself with the materials. There should be multiple copies of some things. Look at what you've got. You might not want to use it all. It's just there for reference. Then you will have 25 minutes to devise a plan, to use your archaeological skills to address that challenge. There is a prompt sheet if you need it, that sort of suggests a few actions that you might take and how you might think about the benefits and how that would help, what you would need to realise that. And then you're going to finally, last 10 minutes, you've got to think about, and this is as a group, how you are going to pitch that to the person, to the role that you've got assigned. I think it might be in the envelopes. It's like magical mystery envelopes on your table. There are also some prompts about the sorts of techniques that might be applied to that scenario. And what was in the second envelope, Coralie? Oh, just one envelope. Okay. Okay, so there's some prompts in there to sort of help you. If you are spending a lot of time discussing one particular topic, that means it's really fascinating, but we do need to park that, make us aware of it, and move on, because I know what you lot are like, because I'm like that myself. If there are knowledge gaps, things that you think you would need to know that might affect how you would progress, again, write those down, use some post-its, and move on. This is about finding something that you feel you can say something about and how you might apply that. Use that prompt sheet to take down notes and make any reflections on that process. Final part of the challenge. You are not, in your infinite toolkit of archaeological knowledge and wisdom, allowed to do any excavation. So that's the final challenge. So timer starts now. You've got a total of 45 minutes. We're going to let you know when that 10 minutes is up. Obviously, you're all grown up, so you can carry on spending forever familiarising yourselves if you want. But we'll alert you. And any questions or challenges, facilitators, let me know. And do feel free to add your bluey to the board before we start. Thank you. Good luck.